And good evening and welcome to the August Mangan Park Neighborhood Association. I am Jennifer Holden, the Neighborhood Association lead and the moderator for this evening. We have a great agenda with SacPD Safety Minutes, SMUD and their tree planting program. Some representatives from the Sacramento Botanical Garden will be here to talk about their ambitions for a botanical garden in Sacramento. And United Latinos will follow them with a bit of an update about the air quality monitor in Mangan Park. And then with whatever time's left, I have a couple of announcements and comments on local civic stuff to share. So let's go ahead and begin. Good evening, Captain Monk. Welcome back to Mangan Park. How are you this evening?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you all this evening. I have a few things for you tonight. I had our crime analyst pull up some data just to kind of see where we were at for the year, and things are looking really good in your neighborhood. Assaults have been cut in half from last year. We had 14 at this time last year. We only have 7 this year. We did see a slight increase in vehicle burglaries and vehicle thefts. That is a trend that we're seeing citywide, and as we've dove into that issue a little bit, we're seeing that there are cars that are being taken because of catalytic converters to steal them. So we're looking more into that, but it certainly looks like the catalytic converter theft is, becoming a big issue again, and something that we're going to have to really look into and advocate for some law changes probably. Another interesting of note, I think a positive thing is that you had almost 32% more officer initiated calls for service in your neighborhood than last year. And I think that's because of the advocacy that you and Lieutenant Kinney working together and making us aware of issues and getting officers in your neighborhood to deal with some of those issues. So I think that certainly is a positive thing, and I was glad to see that. And then secondly, I know there was some email floating around about some campers and some extra patrol needed in the neighborhood. And I wanted to touch on real quick. I know you're probably all aware, last month, there was an injunction filed on the city and county with regards to homeless enforcement. It basically said that because of the heat, that we were not allowed to do any sort of homeless enforcement or move camps at all. So that was set to expire on the 25th. It has not. The city attorney and their attorneys are presenting or are doing their arguments. I think ultimately a judge is supposed to decide by the end of the week if there will be a stay of that injunction or not. I think the assumption is that because of the hot weather, that based on the rationale from the first time, that will probably continue. So I know that is frustrating because essentially kind of limits our ability, as I say, we as a city, to deal with homeless encampments in your neighborhoods. We do have the impact team still out there, and they're still working with DCR to go out and provide services and to try and keep the camps, the trash and the unsightliness as minimal as possible. So we are still able to do that and work with our partners over there with that. But also, it looks like you're having some issues with people just hanging out in the park at nighttime, and our graveyard folks have become aware of that. And so hopefully we can have an impact on that as well. And I think that's all I have for you, unless anybody has any questions.
Anyone have questions for Captain Dan? Okay, then I'll go ahead and make my one statement. Recognizing the homeless injunction, but I think there's another aspect of it to bring up, which is as I'm trotting past the tents that are there, most days at some time, and I'm kind of watching the accumulation of property around the tents. I'm concerned that we've got people who are coming into Mangan Park backyards at night and pilfering and carrying it back to the park. So as much as I want to be compassionate to the homeless, and yes, we absolutely need to get them to a safe place in the next coming week. This is dangerous heat headed our way. What can we do to also prevent them from stealing from us? Because there's no need for a red lawnmower next to a tent in a park.
Absolutely. I was just talking to somebody else along the Freeport corridor today in their neighborhood because they're having the same exact issue. And, what I would, on this particular one, they said, hey, my bike was stolen in my backyard. Pretty sure that there was a homeless guy behind my fence that took it. And my first question was, great. We can have impact, look for it. What's your report number? Oh, I didn't file a report. Well, okay, great. Well, first off, we need to file police reports so that we come across your stuff, we can get it back to you. If you have a bike, for example, serialize it, put your driver's license on there, etch it, or have other unique ways of identifying your stuff. So if we find it, we can get it back to you. The more easily it is for us to identify and legally say, yes, that was the item that was taken out of my backyard, then that person is obviously liable for possession of stolen property. And now we have a crime in progress, and it's not a homeless issue. And that's something that we can, obviously take enforcement action on. And so that's, I think that is really important as I see a hand up as well here.
Yes, Matt, go ahead.
Hey everybody, Matt King. I'm just in the adjacent neighborhood of Charlie Park, and I want to thank you guys for giving us a lot of extra boots on the ground. And I've noticed the presence, and I think a lot of neighborhoods have. I have a question as well, because the injunction kind of threw me a little bit. What can we also report, because we've got a decent sized camp, and I know Kenny is, they've had Forensic Clean go in and clean it up once before, but now it's back, and it's kind of a center for a lot of drug dealing. I mean, I'm actually seeing the deals go down, and then they're like using the drugs inside the tents and next to I guess it's an old photo mat and stuff, but I know report. Is that going to affect, I mean, if there's criminal activity actually going on, I guess, what do we need? Like video or stuff like that to send to you guys?
Well, if we have, a location where it's occurring, and I mean, if you have information on who's dealing, that's really important to us, because a lot of times, even if you take video of somebody that's using it, and then, they consume what they have, there's really nothing for us to do with that person other than try to offer them help and get them some addiction services. But we really try to focus on the dealers. So, if we have information on like a license plate or something that we can really sink our teeth into, that is very helpful. We don't have narcotic teams anymore. We got rid of them back when the budget, the big crunch back in like 2010-ish. But I have a pop team. They are small, but they're mighty. They can't be everywhere all the time, but certainly when we get, information on drug dealers, we certainly like to do stuff with that. So, I can, when possible, have them come out there and, unmarked cars or stuff that, maybe lends to trying to have them make their observations of the drug sale, and then they can take enforcement action based on that. So that is very helpful. The first part really is just sort of communicate. And then there's a variety of ways. I mean, if you see drug dealing or there's, somebody possessing it, you can certainly call our non-emergency number and they can send patrol officer out there. A lot of times or sometimes, they could reuse it before we get there, or they may still have it. And if they have it and we have a legal status to search them and find it, most of the time they would get a notice to appear. We seize their drugs, and then they go about their day. That's not enough of a legal cause for us to take down their tents or take them to jail unless it's a felony. So, so the dealers really want to focus on.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Friday, Saturday nights seems to be the hot spot. It's at that McDonald's at the corner of Florin and 24th.
Okay.
There used to be a little like a key shop or a photo mat right there, and that seems to be the center of the deal. But Friday, Saturday nights, the dealers pull in. It's a big party. There's prostitutes and stuff, and they're just really like, I mean, it's flowing to all the homeless come with their carts, everything. Everybody's got their hand out. They're exchanging. It's pretty happening. I let Kenny know about it. And like I
Okay.
said, appreciate you guys coming and cleaning it up, but it's like they just kind of trestled on back in, you know, because it's familiar.
All right, I'll circle back with Kenny on that, and then I also put my email in the chat there. So if you have any information you want to email me on that as well, I'm happy to take a look at it, and we'll see what we can get together on that.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I have one more idea, comment, question, but anybody else have one before I speak again? Okay, so you made the very Captain Dan, you made the great point of it's really hard for you to say that a crime has been committed if the theft wasn't reported. And I know that people, when it's items that are less than, what is it, $500 or $1,000, they've kind of stopped reporting because there's not going to be any criminal sentence attached. So people are not reporting their small thefts as much anymore because they think it doesn't matter. I can help with that a little bit, but I was wondering also, I know you and many fine SacPD officers make wonderful social media posts, especially on Nextdoor, making suggestions or hints or reminders to people. Could we have one? Because I know that there are, with this, the homeless injunction going on, our encampments have spread to a lot more places. Now might be a good time to remind people to report even the small thefts out of their backyard.
Yeah,
and I'll do my best to grab that and amplify that with you, and make a note to other people that it doesn't matter how small it is. Go ahead and report it, because we need that report to be able to take any action whatsoever.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We can certainly take care of that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I will bump that back up to the top of my thoughts on communicating with my neighborhood, that please report even the bicycles and the lawnmowers that go missing in the night from your yard, because we do know that I hear it a lot. It's gotten, in the last year, people noticing how many people are entering their backyard illegally, trespassing, and it's quite brazen and quite blunt. And there's a lot of conversations on social media about what you should do. And some of the ideas are very, very, it's not how I want to live in a civilized society, but people are getting desperate, and we need to find a way to make certain that we don't have illegal trespassers entering our properties at night to steal from us. It's gonna make things real hairy, real soon if we don't get a handle on it. Any other questions for Captain Dan?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to thank Captain Dan for the coordination and working with you in the neighborhood, because it really makes a big difference. And this is the kind of stuff that we talk about when we say community policing. So we're on the right track, and the police department and the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association are doing the right thing. And I'm sorry about the homeless situation, but that is a factor of our times. We'll get better.
Yep, agreed. Thank you.
And I want to echo that and say thank you so very much for all of the great partnership that you and SacPD have extended to Mangan Park. We are very grateful and appreciative of all your work on our behalf.
Well, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me, and I hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you. Same to you. I'll be in touch, and hope to see anybody from SacPD come on out on Sunday for our end of summer Mangan pool party. The pool will be open for free on Sunday from 1 to 5. Bring your families. It's supposed to be 111.
It is gonna be hot. All right, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Good night.
And hello, Erica. Good to see you here. Welcome.
Hi there.
So glad you could join us. And now we're going to switch on over to SMUD and Dave Tamayo. and the SMUD tree planting program. So welcome everybody. Hello, so glad you're here.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity for SMUD to come and talk to you about the shade tree program. SMUD's been supporting and partnering with the Sacramento Tree Foundation for several decades. Our former general manager, David Freeman, really saw the value of shading trees. I think in his neighborhood, one of his neighbors was bragging of how low his SMUD bill was because of the shade, and a light bulb went off in his head, and he started making calls and asking the very young Tree Foundation, how can we support you and make this a big part of what we're trying to do as an organization. So from that start, started the Million Tree program. And in fact, I'll brag a little bit. I'm, well, not really bragging, but just point out that the school across the street from my house has the very first tree that was planted by the Tree Foundation as part of that program. I'm your representative on the SMUD board. Maybe I should have started with that. I represent most of South Sacramento, so Hollywood Park, Mangan Park, Tahoe Park, Oak Park, all the way down to Valley High. I live in Fruit Ridge Manor. I've been there for 33 years now, and been the beneficiary of many SMUD trees, both in my neighborhood, the school across the street, and my own yard. So Amy Young here from our staff is here to give you more details on what's going on with our shade tree program. And she can fill you in on, how you can connect with the program and all the other benefits. So thank you very much. I'm going to hand it over to Amy. Amy, I'm just wanted to introduce this particular item, and I'm going to rely on you for all the technical and logistical details.
You bet. Thank you, Director Tamayo. I am going to share my screen. I have a presentation. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Is that possible? I'm happy to just talk through, but I have pretty pictures. So
I want you to have pretty pictures, but in order to do that, I'm going to make you the host.
okay.
But I have complete trust in you, and I know you'll hand it back to me when you're done.
Okay.
Hang on, I actually am in the wrong place.
No
I'm
worries.
better at this. I will. Making host. There you go.
All right. I am now the host. Oh, I feel so powerful. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Share this. I'm going to make it big, and then I'm probably going to lose everybody. Oh no, I can still see you guys on the side. Okay, can everyone see this okay and hear me okay?
I see you fine.
Yes, yes. Okay. So once again, my name is Amy Young. I am with the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, or SMUD. I have been with SMUD for 24 years, and I have actually worked on this program almost that entire time in one shape or form. I currently run the program right now, and then I also manage a small group of program managers that deals with a lot of the carbon savings type programs. So what is Sacramento Shade? Well, it really is a partnership between us, SMUD, and the Sacramento Tree Foundation. You'll hear me refer to them as SacTree, but that's what I'm talking about. And what we do together is we annually site about 10,000 trees, and that we give those away to schools, homes, parks, and it's all for free, and it's all for qualifying customers. So customers who get electric service from SMUD, basically Sacramento County. So who is SMUD? You've probably seen this, you probably know this already. We've been around over 70 years. We are the 6th largest community-owned electric service in the United States. And we just met Dave Tamayo, who is one of our 7-member elected board of directors. We've got about 2,200 employees, and we serve roughly 1.5 million customers. What you may not have heard is that we have a very aggressive goal of being 0 carbon by 2030, and shade trees is one way we can get there. Our partner, SacTree, the Sacramento Tree Foundation, they have been around for about 40 years, and together we have planted over 600,000 trees in this program. Their focus is really urban forests and ensuring that there is a diverse canopy and a large canopy within, oops, I've got to admit somebody, sorry. Lose my train here really quick.
Lacey, thank you very much.
So urban forests is their main focus. And so this program is one of their mainstays, but they do have a multitude of other programs where they go out in the community. They do replanting, and they do acorn harvests and acorn raising. They are a great organization. So what does the tree program really do? Well, what the tree program's main focus right now is to get every customer their very best own urban forest. So what does that mean? It means trees in their neighborhood, trees in their community, trees in their yard. We look at the environmental benefits of trees, like carbon storage. We also look at carbon avoidance, which is when a tree shades your home and you don't need to use as much air conditioning. Main goal is really increasing tree survivability, because we can give you 10 free trees, but if they don't survive, then it was all for nothing. So we're really excited about giving out the trees, but making sure they go in the right place and making sure they're planted and cared for properly. But in a nutshell, what we do is bring trees to neighborhood parks, schools, streets, and your home. So how do trees help? What are some of the benefits of trees? Well, they store carbon, which is great. They mitigate the damage done by stormwater and rain, which really helps out cities and actually homeowners. When you know that you've got a lot of rain coming through, it can do a lot of damage if it comes all at once. They conserve energy when you save not running your air conditioning. They mitigate the urban heat island. And the urban heat island is something you're probably all familiar with and will become extremely familiar with the next week or so. It is when you go to the grocery store and you're in the middle of the concrete jungle parking lot, where do you go to park? You want to park in the shade of the building, the shade of a tree. All of that man-made materials, but even rocks around, right? Those all retain heat and give the heat off later in the day. If you've seen on the news where they say, don't walk your dog today, that's bad for their dog's feet. And you can't even still walk them at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, even when it's shady, because the heat has been retained in that concrete, right? So that's going to always be generating heat. And one way we can mitigate some of that heat is by planting shade trees. And basically evapotranspiration is when the water has taken into the tree and then basically perspired out, kind of like the tree just sort of sweating, but it cools. And we all know on a hot day, the place we want to be is under a shade tree if we can't be in an air-conditioned building, right? And of course, they increase property values by enhancing curb appeal. But did you know that they also reduce hypertension, lowering blood pressure? They make people want to go outside and thereby reduce obesity. They improve mental health by decreasing anxiety, increasing attention span, and reducing stress and depression. They promote civic pride, which reduces crime. And of course, once again, they improve air quality. There's lots of interesting studies on all of these. The most fascinating one to me is the recovery rate for patients in hospitals when they have a window that sees a tree. They recover faster than if they have no window or a window that simply looks out onto another building. So I mentioned this in passing a little bit earlier, but I'll get into it a little bit more now. Right tree, right place. It's kind of our internal motto. So what does that mean? It means first of all, we're giving you trees that benefit not only you, but the region. So it's every tree plan, every home, every community that we go into and plant trees. Oh, sorry, people are coming in. I don't know what to do. I think they're all in, sorry. Being in charge is very high pressure when you're presenting. So there's a thoughtful design between every map that we lay out. When we look at your house and we decide where you can have trees, it's tailored to each and every yard and to how you use the yard and to customer preference. Always wanting to provide cool shade and energy savings when possible, wanting to provide as many trees as possible that will fit in the yard. If you are in a more rural area, we're happy to provide trees further away from your home that are simply going to, again, help with that urban heat island overall, store carbon overall, but then perhaps also mitigate some of that stormwater damage that can happen and provide windbreaks. In the end, in a neighborhood, adding trees makes yards more usable and streets more walkable and increases, once again, property value of your home. And let's see, there we go. So how does the program work? Well, it's really, really easy. You just sign up. How can you sign up? If you are still receiving a paper bill, you will also be receiving a SMUD bill insert, probably 3 or 4 times a year, that talks about this program. You can simply fill it in and send it in when you send in your payment. You can go directly to sactree.com/shadetrees and fill out a form online. If phone is your thing, it's 924-TREE is the phone number, area code 916. Or if you prefer email, shadetrees@sactree.com. So all of those ways will get you to a community forester who will then reach out to you and make an appointment with you. That appointment may be in person or may be virtual. And what that forester will do at the appointment will cite up to 10 trees for your yard. You'll sign a tree care agreement, which basically says, I agree to plant the trees in the places we discussed, and I agree to plant them according to your instructions, and I agree to plant them right away, and I agree to take care of them for the rest of their lives. Delivery is expected in about a month after you have this appointment, and then all you do is plant those trees and then take care of them. I'm going to show you what a virtual siting looks like. During a virtual appointment, you will go online and look at Google Earth, and we'll just pretend that's your house. And the forester will say, okay, I see that you have some power lines, you've got a road, you've got a big driveway, you already have a couple of existing trees. Here are 2 places we can plant medium trees. And they'll show you, and they're going to be far enough away that they're not going to interfere with any power lines overhead or any underground lines. They're going to not interfere with any concrete, so you're never going to have the roots pulling up your driveway or branches growing into your gutters. So once you get the tree sited, you get the size sited, you will work with the forester to determine which one of the trees you want. So there's about 40 different species that we have right now on our list, and they're pretty evenly spread out between small, medium, and large trees. So this customer, pretend customer, Elwoods, chose a frontier elm for their first tree in the front yard and a Chinese flame for the second one. Now, if you're doing this in person, it's basically the same thing, except the forester is actually going to physically draw out an aerial view of your house and yard with distances included. They'll mark over in this section with the grid tree numbers. Let's say you get 10, you'll have 1 through 10. And then up here, it'll say 1 through 10, and they'll mark the species. So, you know, if there's a tree right here, oh, I look up here, tree number 1, it's an elm tree, plant that in there. Over here is where you'll sign, and that's just really agreeing to take care of this tree, to plant it, and to make sure it is watered. So this is the most important slide, I think, of this presentation, because not only does it have relevance for any free trees you may be receiving, but it is completely useful for all the trees that you already have in your yard. And it is mulching. And there's a rule of thumb of creating a mulch donut. So you're going to spread mulch out in a 4-foot diameter around your tree, but you're going to keep it 4 inches away from the trunk. That's going to allow the oxygen to get down to the roots. And you're going to layer it 6 inches thick. Now, why are you going to do this? Well, mulch and wood chips are one of the easiest ways to protect and nourish your tree while saving water. This is critical. Also, I want to let you know, no matter where you live and no matter what water restrictions you are under, you can always still water your tree. It is excluding tree watering. The city does not want your trees to die. So please always water your trees. Mulch will help retain the moisture in the soil. It will decompose and release nutrients in the soil. It helps maintain soil temperature and protect the roots, which is extremely important on hot days like we're going to be seeing soon. It discourages grass and weeds from growing near the trunk and competing for nutrients. So I know a lot of people like to plant flowers right around or have the grass go all the way up to the trunk. Those roots are losing nutrients to anything that's planted above them. So just keep that in mind. Wood chips will also help reduce soil compaction so that roots can breathe better. And again, since they slowly decompose, they should be checked and replenished often. Probably checking once a year, once every 18 months is going to be sufficient. Now, what is not mulch? This is an important thing too. Mulch is not rubber. It is not rocks. It is not decomposed granite or weed cloth or artificial grass or plastic. All of these items can trap the heat in the soil and actually cook the roots. So you're going to damage the roots when you use these things. They might look pretty, but they're not doing your tree any favors. So you're thinking, wow, I'm on the mulch bandwagon. Wherever could I get some mulch? You are in luck because SMUD offers free wood chips to all of its customers. If you are familiar with SMUD's downtown location, or Midtown, I guess it is, 65th and Highway 50, we're kind of right on the corner. If you come down 65th Street and go on Folsom Boulevard, we are right across from 62nd or Giovanni's Old World Pizza is right on the corner. And if you can see my cursor, it's like right there is where we have the mulch area. So this is open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And you can come and take as many wood chips as you want. You need to bring your own tools, unfortunately, and either you can fill up your truck and tarp it or put it on a tarp and put it in your trunk or have some old garbage cans, however you want to do it. But the mulch is there for you. That's at 6100 Folsom Boulevard. But again, if you think of Giovanni's Old World Pizza on Folsom Boulevard, that's going to get you there the quickest. Phone number, if you want to talk to someone at the yard, is again 916. It's going to be 732-5854. But it's not manned. It's just they open the gate between 9 and 2:30. And I see Mark has raised his hand. You have a question, Mark?
It's Matt. Sorry,
Oh,
you're probably,
sorry.
but I'll wait till you're finished.
Oh, okay. I am almost done. I think I actually am done. I am done. So perfect timing. Sorry, Matt. How can I help you?
No big deal. You'd mentioned that you also plant at parks and things like that.
Yes.
So does that include like city? I guess it would include city-owned spaces, right? That's a part.
Yes, and it's all very dependent too. So if you are already in a very wooded park, there may not be trees.
So
it's
I
all
wonder-
on an individual basis.
Okay, so what we have is we're right by the airport,
Okay,
and across the street is Airport Little League.
okay,
So it is not a wooded space.
Okay.
And street canopy along the sidewalk and the bleachers and all of that is very wide open, and that's
Okay.
where all the kids and the parents have to sit. So just a minute.
no worries.
Would they, is that a place that they could reach out and have somebody inspect? I mean, I have it up on screen, but it says I can't share my content, but so I don't know about that,
Sure.
but
If you can put your contact info in the chat, or if you want to reach out to me directly, my email is amy.young, YOUNG, @smud.org, and I can put you in touch. What it takes to do these community plantings is a group of individuals who are willing to basically rally the troops to do the digging, and then to provide the watering. So those are a couple of the caveats to get the trees out there. But the good news is, in a community park, what we can do is sometimes we've planted 50 or 60 or 100 trees. So if there's a need for a large amount of trees, we can do that. And we usually do a larger version of tree too, so that they get bigger faster. But it does take volunteers, and sometimes we have to just work together with SMUD, and we can rally some SMUD employees. Director Tamayo would probably want to be involved in helping get the trees in the ground. So yeah, happy to do that. It's not as simple a process as just, call and get an appointment with the forester, just like your home, because it's going to involve more trees, and someone needs to take the responsibility for making sure those trees get watered. And there's ways to do that. If you've got volunteers, you can take a 5-gallon bucket and fill it with water and have a tiny little hole at the bottom of it and put that up to the base of the tree. And that waters the tree slowly over the course of a couple hours. And you can do that a couple times a week. So it's not impossible. If there's irrigation, that's fantastic. But usually the way to get these roots established is always to do a slow, low amount of water over time, so that the water trickles down and the roots will follow the water. That's why if you walk around a neighborhood and you see a lot of surface roots, likely the tree is being watered by the sprinklers. So the sprinklers are all over the surface and they're just following where the water is. But if you let that water seep down low, then it will eventually find its own natural water source. I have half a dozen or a dozen trees in my yard that I watered for the first 3 years. And after that, they're not even on the drip. They've found their own water and they're big, healthy trees. So it's all about that stewardship in the beginning.
all right, thank you. Yeah, I don't know how that works. The watering thing wouldn't be a big deal, or the labor getting them planted. There's already irrigation. It's basically just green strip of grass all the way down the sidewalk, and there's just nothing. And there's a few trees in the backside of the backstops, but it's like watching the games during the early summer is like, it's brutal.
Yeah, I can imagine.
There's a little chatter going on between some neighborhoods, including Land Park, about getting some different tree plantings going through the south area.
Great.
So Matt, maybe we can talk to some of the Land Park board, and Eric, you can talk to the Sierra Curtis Neighborhood Association, and we can all form a little tree planting team.
Yeah.
And move through the south area, and like once a month go do a tree planting in a different neighborhood kind of a thing. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds
All right.
great.
I definitely took snapshots of your contact information slides. I was actually kind of visualizing doing a little cropping on it and turning into a Facebook post tomorrow. Yeah, Eric.
Here, I took my phone number off. That's fine.
Excuse me. Hi, Amy. I'm Eric
Hi.
from the Curtis Park Neighborhood Association. And I'd like to see I really enjoyed your presentation, and I'd like to get you on one of our association meetings. I
Okay.
just want to confirm your email. It's amy.young@smud.org.
That's it.
All right. I will get you something tonight.
Okay, great.
And Amy, I don't want to cut you off and say your presentation is completely over, but I'm getting a
Yep.
couple of messages. People are trying to come in. You can either turn it back to me, or we need to admit some people, because my cell phone's starting to do that texting thing. Jesse, you made
bet.
it. Hello.
I think I let them in finally. I think when they came in, when I was talking, I didn't know what to click. So,
There we go. I see Richard. Richard's here too. Hello.
but tell me how to give you back control, because I don't want to run your meeting for you.
Well, you're doing a great job, by the way. Go into the listing of people
Okay.
and look at me and click
Okay.
on my name, and then
Okay.
scroll down to where it says make host.
Okay. Boom. I give you back your throne.
It says I'm the host again. Hello, everybody. Jesse and Richard, you weren't here for the presentation, but you might have some great questions about SMUD's tree planting program. Do you have some that you want to ask quickly now that you're here?
Nothing in particular, although having not heard the presentation, I would be hard pressed to come up to something that would be relevant to it, but would love to, as United Latinos, who of course, we plant trees, we've been trained by the Tree Foundation and all those kind of things like that. I would love to receive a copy of the presentation.
You bet.
It is recorded and it will be on the Mangan Park YouTube channel within a few days. It will be on our Facebook page within a few days of that too, so you can see the whole presentation. Just to bring both of you up to speed.
You have a YouTube channel?
I have more than one, but I've got the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association YouTube channel.
That is
Yes.
fantastic.
Why, thank you. It's all about communicating in the modern world, the things you learn during a pandemic when you're sitting at home a little bored. But where we were all collectively talking when you came in, and Jesse, you'll be interested in this, is that one way that might be very expedient for us to work together to get trees in neighborhoods are to form a multi-neighborhood tree planting committee. And every month we have a weekend where we go into different neighborhoods and we work together on the planting, because SMUD will give us a lot of the materials, the tree, the wood chips, a lot of good stuff to make it happen. But where people get stopped is digging the holes and having the trucks to do the hauling and stuff like that. But if we all work together, I'm sure we have that, and then we can move through our neighborhoods and do a couple of trees a month.
Yeah,
you know,
that'd be great. And
that way, then we can, it's basically the old barn raising idea. You want a tree in your neighborhood, then all the neighborhoods come together and make certain that the
That's
resources
fantastic.
are there to get it done.
that's
And
fantastic.
working together, we can probably make this happen a lot more effectively than individually.
Yeah.
So
The
my
one thing-
question,
Go ahead, Jesse. I'm so sorry. I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
let you
my
comment.
question is when you start planting these trees, I know they have some type of regulation where you can plant trees, like probably not parks, not schools. So you're talking about individual homes.
This program actually allows for planting at community parks and schools. So if you've got community areas, then we can do that. If it's where it gets sort of sticky is if it's like a business park, then someone owns the business park, and then we usually don't do trees for that. But if it's a community park, a school, there's community area, yeah, we can usually get you quite a few trees.
And I was interested in how many trees at one particular time you're thinking about planting. The reason why I'm asking is I was in a program a few years ago with, you might be familiar with it. It was called Hands on Sacramento.
Okay, I'm vaguely familiar with it, but yes.
Yeah, a long time ago. And we planted a bunch of trees in the parks. I guess what I'm getting at is, I think they had a backhoe or something to do the digging.
Oh, yeah, that's, so when we do the community tree plantings, you get usually a 15-gallon tree. So that's kind of the very big bucket. And there, if we do, there's usually no limit, to be honest, when we do a community planting. There's a limit when you, as a homeowner, want to participate, and that is 10 trees. But if we go into a park and there's room for 100 trees and we've got volunteers and water secured, then there's 100 trees that we can plant. But then it's, you know, that's a lot of people. And sometimes we can get that extra equipment depending. Sometimes someone just knows somebody, sometimes we can get our hands on it so that it makes the digging easier.
Yeah, and if not a backhoe like we used, is always a rental system that can have the manual digging process. It just makes it go easy because some of that dirt that we was embarking on was hard pan, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
And that was made it pretty rough. So that's just kind of like food for thought, so to speak.
Great. I love it. I'd love to get some more trees into your neighborhoods. It's be awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Very welcome.
Any other questions for Amy?
I have a question. It's Alex. Amy,
Okay.
Hi.
are there relations between the temperature control, temperature management, actually, of an area where there are more trees? I ask that because they're building the Great Green Wall across the Southern Sahara in Africa, right? And it's not a perfect solution, but and they started out with the great plan, and it seemed like they were going from coast to coast, right? The Atlantic to the Indian Ocean.
That's awesome. Yes. So there's a lot of studies, and what you can search for if you have interest is basically it's still the urban heat island, and it's the urban heat island effect, even if it's not in urban areas. When you plant the trees provide a cooling effect around them just by the nature of the tree itself and the process of its life cycle, right? It takes in water and then it kind of sweats it out, for lack of a better analogy. And that's what helps keep it cool. And then again, providing shade. If it's in sandy soil, it can help stabilize soil. It can provide windbreaks, so it helps with erosion. It's going to capture carbon, which is everywhere, even in the middle of nowhere. There's carbon that needs to be sequestered, so trees do that. So trees are remarkable, and I've kind of liked the last few years of anytime I'm like just flipping through Facebook, there'll be just any random organization that just says, go plant a tree. You know, help the earth, go plant a tree. And it really is just that easy. If everybody went out there and planted a tree, I mean, you might look in your yard and go, oh, I've got enough trees. But you look across the way and there's tons of room. There's room in Sacramento County alone for like 5 million more sited trees. So there's always room for trees.
That's fantastic. Thank you. You know, I did work with the Sacramento Tree Foundation. I have about 4 trees on my lot here.
Oh, great.
I did use that virtual process to have the arborist look at the site and determine what would be a good tree and what location. So that part worked out perfectly. And
Nice.
Yes, they came out in about 3 weeks to a month, and I put them in the ground. So no big deal. It's worked out well. The trees are doing a great job. And I love that shade that they provide, and also just the fact that they're an aesthetic for the yard. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? You feel like your backyard's kind of like a little park. It's nice. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Richard, I see your hand is up, and then in the interest of time, I think that'll be our last question. So Richard.
Okay, and thank you. And Amy, look forward to talking to you more. Richard Falcone, United Latinos. I think really the main question I have, for example,
Okay.
I am part of the participatory budgeting project here within Sacramento as well, just to let you know.
Okay.
There are a number of ideas that have come through that are being looked at, embedded in regard to things like tree planting in specific areas within the city and such like that. And part of the research that's being done by the delegates as we bring these proposals forwards deal a lot with questions on irrigation.
Okay.
For your program specifically, and again, I missed it, you may have already talked about it, how are you addressing the challenges with irrigation? Of course, obviously at someone home, a little bit easier. I mean, Sacramento Tree Foundation says, 5 gallons worth of water 2 to 3 times a week as we go through there. But if we're starting to talk about putting trees into areas of the city to help with the tree canopy, reducing again the heat pieces and everything else like that.
Right.
How is your program helping to mitigate the challenges with irrigation? And additionally, of course, as we go forward, one of the challenges faced with the city of Sacramento is in regard to continued maintenance of the trees. So again, those are the 2 questions I would put forward to you.
Right. So I'll go with maintenance first. So maintenance is going to be basically pruning. So there's a lot of online instruction, and then the Tree Foundation will provide some in-person classes. I don't know if they've actually resumed those yet or not, where you can learn how to prune. We have pruning information online, how to prune your free tree. So it gives you some instruction. The good news is in the first few years of the tree's life, you really don't prune anything except for the like suckers that come up that are trying to be new baby trees, right? So mostly you just want it to get big, and then you need to start shaping it after year 3. For watering, it's really those critical first 3 years. So you get your baby tree, whether it's a 5 gallon or a 15 gallon, but those first 3 years are when it's going to really establish its roots into the soil that you planted in, right? So the best way to do that, aside from the way that you dig the hole and plant it, there's a little method to that madness, keeping that root ball right, the base of that trunk above the level of the ground, so that it always has the oxygen. And that's if some of you might remember, because you got to see the presentation. So sorry for those of you that I didn't let in. When you put the mulch, you don't mulch all the way up to it, because that again is that area where it's bringing in the oxygen. So the water ideally is either on a hose or a drip system, or even that 5 gallon bucket. If you don't have access, you've got a huge piece of property, or it's a park. So you bring that bucket out, 3 times a week. You check to see, does it need water? Yes, it needs water. You just do a shovel kind of into the soil by the tree, comes out dry. Yeah, it shouldn't be dry. So that tiny little hole, I think it's like 1/8 of an inch drill bit that you would put at the bottom of the bucket and just let it slowly go in there. And that again is the water is going to seep down and encourage those roots to go down and find their own water, which they will do, right? They will do. We see, you drive down I-5, there's trees everywhere and there's no water because they found the natural water resources. So that's what we're trying to do with the trees. So in an area that has irrigation, really no problem, right? You can stick the hose on it, you can stick a bucket on it and fill it up with your hose, you can do a drip. But it's in these community areas that we have the problem. So one way we've done it is we actually had a partnership with the city of Rancho Cordova. And the partnership was taking trees and planting them in more of a community that was all rental houses. So there could have been water that has brought in from the homeowner, but there really wasn't any buy-in from homeowners. They were renters, and there's no buy-in to improve somebody else's property usually, right? So the city actually agreed to water these trees with a water truck for 3 years till they became established. And I think we might be right at the end of 3 years by now. So that was one way we can come combat it. Another way it's not as ideal is you just go to a smaller and you do more frequency, right? That's why when you see, oh, we're replanting a forest and it's like trees this high. Well, trees this high probably have a better chance because they can find the water and they'll keep looking and looking, and it's a numbers game at that point, right? Like, hey, if 10% of them survive, then we've got now 100 trees where there weren't before. So there's different ways based on the location and really based on the community around it. Like how badly do you want these trees? Like as a city, would you be willing to take a water truck and water these trees? Would you be willing to rally and find, you know, an individual within the community who wants to volunteer or schedule a series of volunteers? So it's kind of that takes a village thing that takes over, because like, you know this, there's tons of room and there's tons of places for trees, but getting water there and getting people there to water the trees, that's the hard part. So there's still a lot of work we can do that we can have success. And I think that's really the place to focus initially, at least.
And I love the fact that you said it takes a village. And I guess I bring this up because here in Sacramento, of course, the city will tell you there are so many limited resources. You know, we're struggling through so many different challenges here. So I guess my message to you folks here at Mangan Park, as you do this, is grow that community of tree waterers.
Yeah.
You know, and Jennifer, you're going to go water the trees on this block on Monday, and Jesse, you're going to go water the trees on Wednesday, and Matt, you're going to go water the trees on Friday, or you know, whatever like that, because the irrigation is a really important piece of it. But it's one of the challenges we face as we start trying to really develop our urban forests within this city is we can't rely on the city to do it all for us.
Yeah.
So if we're going to do this, it's got to be us being able to do it. And then maybe getting stipends to help us with the additional water costs as we run up our water bill as we're.
You know, there's all kinds of grants out there to be had, right? And interestingly enough, Cal Fire does a lot of grant programs to get trees in the ground. So now whether that's something attainable on a community level, or really it takes a bigger organization because of just the volume of money that they need distributed and the way that it needs to be monitored is maybe a little daunting, but it really kind of goes back to one of the benefits of tree is growing that community, right? If you've got people, you've got 20 people in your neighborhood of like 1,000, and they go out there and they plant the tree, and then they take turns watering the tree. You're building friendship and you're building bonds and you're improving. And then maybe more people want to walk their dog, right? Maybe more people want to go to the park. And it again builds that community, helps reduce the crime, beautifies the neighborhood, you know, and again, you're going to sell your house. Wouldn't it be nice to be across the street from a highly wooded park versus, you know, a desert? So many benefits. I don't take no for an answer for as far as like it's impossible to do. Nothing's impossible to do. It's just how hard do you want to work for it, right? And who can you get to help you do that? And who are the right people to ask? And you know, go to city council meetings. Hey, can we borrow your water truck? Hey, can we get volunteers? Can we be on the volunteer day that goes out once a year, you know, on community organization day? Can we be that organization that you support as a city and we can rally volunteers? What are the resources that you do have for us? So it's just time and effort and really desire, but we're here to help facilitate however we can, and happy to provide the trees, which is, you know, I would assume one of the bigger barriers because they're no cost. So
Thank you,
happy
Amy.
to help.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So, Effie, you raised your hand and I want to recognize your hand and give you a chance to ask a question, but I'm also going to ask that it be brief because we are running over time and we've got people for other agenda items waiting. Oh, you're on mute, sweetie. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay. Yes, Amy, I have a question in reference to collaboration when it comes to the trees. Do you have a collaboration with the Sacramento Tree Foundation?
Yes,
And-
SMUD partners with the Sacramento Tree Foundation, and we have for over 30 years. That's how we deliver this program.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is because I know that there are certain zones that do collaborate and they can get the trees and the assistance they need as far as volunteering
Mhm.
and so on, because we have that here in Hampton Station. And everyone that wanted trees, whether it was shade trees, fruit trees, we were able to get them in here, and they still collaborate with us and come through and help with the trees. So I
Great.
just want to know, what collaboration is out there for Jennifer and the community.
Yeah, that's a program that is known as Neighbor Woods, where
Yes.
there's like a community organizer that works for the Tree Foundation that is also super familiar with the community and would come to these meetings and would cite the trees and help organize the planting and rally for volunteers either from SacTree, from SMUD, from your community to get everything planted. So that is available. I'm not sure who covers this area, if there already is a Neighbor Woods organizer, but we can certainly find that out.
Thank you. And that's so irrelevant. I just wanted to share that because we have that program here in Hampton Station, even our parks. We requested more shade trees for the Hampton Station Park. And we have that collaboration with the Sacramento Tree Foundation.
Awesome.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm sure there are more questions, but in the interest of time, I'm going to say this agenda item is closed. Amy, you've been fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation and the neighborhood and community organizing aspect of it. That wasn't a direction I expected the conversation to go, but I think it's a very productive one. So I'm very grateful to you for coming this evening, and we know who to reach. And I'm sure we'll be having some of our internal conversations amongst ourselves about how to make this work for South Sacramento. Because that is, there's people from all different parts of South Sacramento on this call tonight, and
awesome.
We want this. We don't have enough trees, and we want them.
I want to give them to you. I'm gonna leave my email in the chat. If anyone has any questions or just any comments and wants to reach out to me, please feel free. And we can chat online. And I thank you so much for your time and your invitation, having me come share a little bit of my passion with you guys. So thank you so much. And I'm going to jump off. You guys have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. Same to you. Till we meet again.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye-bye. And we have 3 members of the Sacramento Botanical Garden board here with us this evening. Linda Ching, Bruce Ritter, and Derek Lim are here to talk to us about bringing a botanical garden to Sacramento. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Linda. I am at the Las Vegas airport. I got dropped off here yesterday and missed my flight, and I really have, so I'm on my phone here. After we're done, I'm going to need to go through security and get on the plane. But I'm in Vegas, and boy, it is hot. It is 108 degrees. It's a dry heat. It's okay.
I hope you make it home safely tonight, because we are going to cool off tonight, but by Saturday we'll be up at 108 degrees too. Right. So come back, get cool fast, and then brace yourself for the worst.
Yes.
So
did you want to?
Yeah, what's going on with the Sacramento Botanical Garden?
Okay. So I am Linda Ching, and I met Bruce Ritter years and years ago in optometry school in New York City. I am a native Sacramentan, and I came back to Sacramento, and about 4 years ago, Bruce and I decided that Sacramento needed to have a botanical garden. So Bruce did the paperwork for a 501c3. I don't know if you can see me because I'm on my phone. And we have been working to try to get land from the city of Sacramento on which to build this garden. We've been doing lots of research. Well, Bruce has been doing lots of research, and he's finding that in order for a garden to be self-sustaining, it needs to be about at least 40 acres. So we have been looking for land. We had considered some other parcels in Sacramento, and right now we are working to get the Delta Shores Community Park in South Sacramento as our location. I think that the Tree Foundation, well, the SMUD talked about the Tree Foundation. And I'm trying to see what's on my phone, if I can see you.
Yeah, we see you.
Okay, I can't see much, but so we are trying to get land, and you know what the benefits are when you drive into a parking lot and you're looking for shade. It makes a huge difference to have shade. And as Amy talked about, having trees seems to cool the neighborhood. So we want to put as many trees in the garden to bring more oxygen and more carbon sequestration to South Sacramento. Sacramento is one of 15 state capitals lacking a botanical garden. So it's rather an embarrassment considering that we have so much agriculture, and we are the city of trees, or we used to be. So our garden, we hope to have a conservatory. We want to have some psychological cooling through some water features like fountains. We need to have a wedding venue so that we can generate some funds to support the maintenance of our garden. And we want to place ourselves adjacent to the regional sanitation off of Cosumnes River Boulevard, because we can utilize recycled water and show people what can be done in many different ways with demonstration gardens and showing them plants from around the world, which we may not be able to travel to go see. So Bruce and I have been working at this for a few years. We have Derek Lim, he's an ex-city staffer helping us. We have a past president of the SMUD board, Renee Taylor, helping us. We have talked to different city officials. We've talked to all 8 city council members, and they all are in favor of the idea. And we've talked with city attorneys, with city planners, with parks and recreation. And as I said, we are trying to get a participatory grant through the Measure U process in South Sacramento, with which to do an economic feasibility study on the location that we've chosen in South Sacramento. So how many of you have heard that we're trying to bring a garden to Sacramento? Have you heard of Sacramento Botanical Garden?
I think Jesse is signaling feedback. I believe Jesse's with the Meadowview Neighborhood Association. You presented at the Meadowview Neighborhood Association. Anybody else heard about it?
Would you like me to pull up our picture?
That sounds great. Yes, please.
Okay.
While he's doing that, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Have you had, have either of you or your group had any success with regional sands? Because that's seemingly the area that you spoke of earlier, and I know that's pretty much a treasured lot that's out there off of Franklin and Calvine, or Cosumnes River Boulevard.
Yes, we have. Jennifer, can you enable screen sharing?
I can make you the host.
Okay, that works.
I think we're all in for the night, so I think it's okay. There you go. Just promise to give me back control when
I
you're done.
promise. So the answer to your question is yes, we actually have been working with the regional sand board for, Linda, how long? About 6-8 months or a year now already?
We started with, Tom, the parent of one of my son's childhood classmates, who was our connection to regional sand. He introduced us to the bufferland supervisor in June of last year.
Right. And
So
then go on.
we've exchanged, probably 20 emails with him, and we've met the CEO, and they have a very strict list of things that can be put on the land that is the buffer lands outside of the sanitation plant. And we have come up with a document which we have sent to Regional Sand. Regional Sand is looking, well, they've pretty much okayed everything at the administrative level, but they need to take it to the board of Regional Sand. So we are waiting for that to happen.
So I guess I can go over the plan a little bit with you. So what you've got here, the area that I'm circling is the proposed botanical garden. The retention basin is actually going to be remaining under regional sand control, but the 27-acre community garden is part where we'll put all the active use amenities like the greenhouse, like a wedding venue, anything that requires a permanent structure. And the 60 acres that's part of the buffer lands would be leased or purchased, but I'm assuming leased from the regional sanitation. And that would include all the passive use areas, which would mean areas that do not require permanent structures or nighttime lighting, for instance. So we're talking there about habitat, like Mediterranean gardens, California native plant gardens, community gardens, demonstration gardens. So the idea is that we use the buffer lands for all the areas that are more natural, and the areas that are developed would be inside the 27 acres. So the answer to your question is we've actually made quite a good amount of progress with regional sand, and ultimately I guess they'd say they're waiting on us to confirm that the city is willing to lease us the 27 acres. If you'll notice the 102 acres there, that's the 3100 Meadowview property. It says Meadowview, Bill, but it's Meadowview property that the city purchased. And they have been discussing putting in a 40 acres worth of sports complex there. So that would essentially take care of the requirement that the 27 acres community park, the city doesn't lose that land. It gets replaced with something else. Linda, anything else on that you think that I've missed?
Well, we have an exploratory committee, a group of powerful city leaders, including Ray Trethaway, formerly executive director of the Sacramento Tree Foundation. We've talked to the developer who developed the Delta Shores shopping center. And we also talked to the developer in that swath of land between the 102 acres and the 27 acres and the 60 acres. I think they're going to start, in 2023. And
yeah, more.
So we've done a lot of research. There's a purple area right adjacent to the 27 acres, which the Delta Shores residential area has slated for like a town village with small shops and things like that. So it would be perfect for them if we could locate our garden right across the street from them. So we're just very excited about bringing an amenity to South Sacramento, and we're using recycled, reclaimed water.
Yeah, one of the draws to this area is that the regional sand has supplies reclaimed water or recycled water, we took a tour of their plant. The water that they dispense from regional sand is just about at the drinking level. It's not officially potable, but it's more or less drinkable. So we anticipate that way we will not be wasting water. We usually reclaim water that then goes right back into the regional sand system through groundwater. So it's actually a very efficient system. It enables us to be able to create lush gardens without wasting water. And as the city gets drier and drier in what they'll allow, we're sort of like an area where a refuge, in a sense, of green, which we may find less and less green in the city as our water supplies decrease. This as far as traffic goes, as I know that's always a concern. The freeway is just about at the left side of it. There's the Delta Shores project there. So the I freeway is here. There's obviously Cassimas River Boulevard is a nice divided highway. I think it's around 40 to 50 miles an hour. So there's no issues of traffic because it's already got great access to the freeway. The light rail station is just about on the right side, a little bit past the diagram. So there's public transit available, there's freeway access, and it's relatively close to the bike path. So as that bike path gets developed a little better so that it's a complete continues right up to Old Sac, we'll have bike access essentially from anywhere on the American River Parkway. And our goal is to hopefully get along Cassimas River to add in another bike path that's a little bit more safe than riding on Cassimas River is right now. So access wise, it's just fantastic. And I think any question, we really would love to open to questions. Anyone has any ideas or thoughts about this?
How you doing, Bruce? This is Jesse.
Hi.
Hi, Jesse.
I know a few years ago in the plan of the Delta Shores, they had been talking about a regional park.
Yes.
What area would that be in? Would this affect that?
Actually, I'm going to show that to you in just a second. Oh, hold on. That would be this. This is their original plan. I believe this is from, I think this is what you're talking about. That's from 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And they proposed a regional park, exactly the exact same space that we're talking about, so leased from Delta Shores. That plan never came to fruition. So that, as far as we can tell, it was abandoned. I'm not sure if the city abandoned it or not, but the plan never happened. So we took this plan, and this is how we based the Botanical Garden.
Well, I'd say that it hasn't happened yet because they expect that it would take 2 housing cycles to get the funds necessary to develop that portion that is now in this diagram, the community park.
Right.
So there is an existing agreement between the city and Regional Sand to develop this area into a regional park. But unless they can get that money, it is at least 20 years out. So we are proposing that we can utilize the community park to put a garden. And a good botanical garden needs to have wandering space. So we would be adjacent to the buffer lands and create some wetlands, some walking trails, and so on within the guidelines of what Regional Sand would allow. So Regional Sand does not allow permanent structures. So if we were to build our conservatory, we wouldn't be able to do it on their land. And that's why it is critical to us that we can get that space that is owned by the city and is okay for building these permanent structures. Because without the conservatory and the wedding venue and so on, then we can't justify an admission that will give us the money so that we can pay for the maintenance of this garden.
Okay, yeah. Well, the reason why I asked, like I said, I sat on many committees over 40 years ago when that was just, just trees out there. And that was one thing that the community had advocated was that community park and work with Malone and Geyer. And that was proposed in some of the archives. So I'm not trying to butt heads with you. I'm just trying to get some information. So when I do go talk to Malone and Guy, or the people that was dealing with Delta Shores, just trying to get some clarification on what is really happening in that area, because that's what the community have in the archives a few years ago was a, like I said, a regional park in that particular area.
Just to clarify, because that's a great point. One of the reason is 26.9 acres. There's additional acreage in the actual development itself. So when you add these 27 acres to all these little parks here, I believe you come up with around, I'm going to say 60 acres of land that was set aside through the Quimby Act. That was based on 5 acres of land per 1,000 proposed residents. The city, since that time, the city changed the requirement to 2.5 acres because they were not able to, the city has to maintain these parks and they don't have the manpower or the money to maintain the park. So they actually took down the request. So Merlone Geyer was actually, I think when you do the math, I'm going to say 30 to 40 acres is the actual amount that they would be obligated to the city based on what the city was requesting through the Quimby Act. They don't want the land back. They're willing to let us use the land. And the 27-acre park, we obviously don't want to take that away without providing something to replace it. And the reason the 102 acres becomes relevant is because the city is intending on putting in around 40 acres worth of the equivalent of what would be in their community park. If you look at the definition of community parks, that usually includes picnic areas, soccer fields, baseball diamonds. So all of that is going to end up in the Meadowview parcel. That's our understanding at this point. As a result, the city is not going to be able to build a 40-acre community park essentially here, and then half a mile away put another one that has more or less the identical amenities in it. So we propose to them that if you're going to put this park here, do a land swap. It's essentially, it's really no difference as far as getting to from many of these developments. In fact, it's easier to get to this development through having the park there over at the 3,100 acres and having it down over on Summers. So that our goal is essentially a land swap. Yeah, but the community benefit, the benefit of the community is now you get your community park, but you also get a major amenity for having a botanical garden in your neighborhood is a wonderful opportunity. And I do want to stress that we are going to have open areas that are accessible without having to pay. There is a fee to get in, but we will be having picnic areas, playgrounds outside of the park. And ultimately we will be doing some work over on Summers Boulevard so that there'll be sort of like a walkway or a bikeway, and what I call a multi-use path outside the park. And that's our plan now. Obviously things evolve, but so we do want to stress that our goal is to add to the community, not just having a paid amenity, but having some areas that are available without fee.
Yeah, and one more thing, I know you said a community park, but my thought process is different between a community park and a regional park.
Right.
And as I stated earlier, a lot of individuals that was working on this project with myself over 40 years ago with the Delta Shores, a lot of them are not here anymore. And they probably and the ones that are here, it's just going to need some clarification, because everywhere I go, that's what we hear. Hey, a community, regional park. So somebody got to come up with clarification. And we're not trying to butt heads or anything, just looking for clarification.
Yeah, honestly, I have to say, and Derek might have information on this more than I, but my understanding is that they just include the regional park concept.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know. There could be many reasons that I'm not pretty sure. Derek, do you have any thoughts on that? Is Derek still there? I'm going to stop sharing.
know if you want to get into the weeds on, because it gets very technical, and basically what you see is what's there and what we have to deal with, because
Louder, Derek?
there was a planned unit development plan that was adopted for Delta Shores, and you know, it is what it is, and that's kind of what we're dealing with. Maybe there might be some wiggle room. I don't know, but
Derek, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I don't think it's a, you know, I don't think now is a good time to get into the weeds on all that, because we're still a long ways from putting a deal together. So I think what's important is, you know, getting a general idea and concept of what we're doing. And, you know, if folks support it, you know, a letter of support would be wonderful. Some folks have mentioned that and are in the process, but I think if folks are really interested and really genuinely supportive, I think the best way you can help is to spread the word amongst your network, but also, you know, give us a letter of support. That would be tremendous.
With that being said, is that closeness, the proximity to the Sam Pennell Center, you know, and then the 102 acres, and then the next area being the Calvine site for the Botanical Garden. It seems like that suggestion Bruce made about a land swap does make a lot of sense, so that you're not clustering the parks in in too close proximity to each other and losing effect. And I don't want to get into the weeds either, but I just thought that that might be a part of your argument.
And I think too, I forgot to mention, what would be extremely helpful as well is, you know, talk to your city council member. Talk to the folks on the regional sanitation board. Because as you well know, a lot of good projects out there, and everyone is saying, me, pick me, put me in, coach. So we're kind of part of that group, and you know, it would really help if your voices could be added to ours and saying, hey, this is a great project. Let's move it forward.
I think it's really worth mentioning, while we're on that topic of it being a great project, which of course we feel it is that this is not just a project to, it's not just a tourist attraction. The amount of economic gain to the community from this project is significant. The Sacramento Greater Economic Council, or the Greater Sacramento Economic Council has determined or estimates that this will provide around $15 million additional income to the local economy and about 150 jobs. So it's actually very beneficial for the community. And what's really nice, it's not just another retail center providing jobs. I mean, it's a retail center in the sense that it's a, you know, it's a business, but it's another type of amenity rather than just bringing more and more stores, which are, they're helpful, but having an attraction, having a different type of job available other than just retail and having career jobs, I think is very beneficial to the community.
Any other questions for them?
I have one, and it's about zoning. Did we speak on that piece? What zoning conflicts or opportunities exist for that area?
We have not gone there. The reality is the community park is parked, so I don't think that would be an issue. My assumption is that if the city council and staff are in favor of this, any variance on the zoning shouldn't be an issue. That would be, you know, approved.
I would only add that, you know, earlier, Bruce and Linda were talking about how we've been working with regional sand because the buffer lands are very sensitive. So we've had a lot of constructive dialogue to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And that's why it's kind of like a package deal. We need the 27 acres because it's outside the buffer zone and physical structures can be placed there. And physical structures are amenities associated with a community park. And all the, passive uses is more in line with the conservation and the preservation that the buffer lands, has in their master plan. So, we've been working really hard to try to, fit, but we've got, as all big projects are a lot of moving pieces, and we're just trying to align everything like a jigsaw puzzle so everything fits. So I think that the biggest thing would be, that 27 acres, which hasn't gone to the city yet, but has been designated as a community park. And I think if we can get that piece there, that's a crucial link to making the project work. But right now, Regional San has been very interested in has moving it up their chain, which is very, very encouraging and very much appreciated.
I think it's worth noting that one of the issues with the community sand, with regional sand buffer lands is accessibility. Since it's not open to the public except during special events, that beautiful area gets mostly unseen. In fact, there are so many people who probably live in Sacramento don't even know it exists because they just drive by the freeway and they see that, where the cranes are right now. The advantage of using the buffer lands as part of the garden, those 61 acres, is that we can create habitat. We can, in a sense, reproduce an accessible version of what's in the rest of the buffer lands. And that's been an issue that the buffer land supervisor has mentioned, that they want to be available for the public, but they can't be open to the public because of the sensitivity of what goes on in regional sand.
So would any letters that we write, would we be addressing them to Regional San?
I'm thinking the city at this point is the ones who really, to use the word pressure, I hate to use the word, but putting pressure on the city to let people know, to let them know that the community is interested in this. Because if the community wants this and they indicate that's this to the council and staff, there's a much greater chance of them making the decision to do the lease for us and to engage in working on the land swap, because that's the critical portion. Those 27 acres need to be replaced. And if they can be replaced by the 3,100 Meadowview property, 40 acres there, then more than makes up for it. And then you get 2 for 1, basically. So yes, we would love letters of support. And if the association would like to give one letter of support from the association itself, I think that goes a long way.
Are there any upcoming timelines for your project that we should be aware of?
Linda?
We are waiting for the vote on the Measure U participatory grant. It is supposed to be taking place in September. They may be pushing, it was supposed to be August and they've pushed it back to September.
I might have an answer on that. Oh, and I think it's just important to note also that the elections come in November and we're going to be changing 3 council members. We know we can't get this done by then, but we would love to at least have the current council begin the process. And I think that would be
we would like a contingent lease on the land before the switch.
Okay, well, so you'd like letters written to the, sounds like the city council. Yes, for council members addressed to the council and done probably within the month of September, so that they're all in for October, so that things can happen in October before the election in November.
Yeah, I don't know when the changing of the guard is, if it's December or January, but
it's early December. But you wanted to, I think you do want to have this happen before the election's even held.
Oh gosh, yeah, we'd love to have it brought to the council if possible before then, at least to negotiations to begin with staff, because the staff in a sense, is actually equally important, if not more, in the sense that the staff's not going anywhere. So that's important.
All right, well, we are well over time on this agenda item, but it's been very, very useful. Are there any closing comments or questions?
I just have a little food for thought.
Oh, do share.
For Linda in Las Vegas, we was there about a month ago, and I don't envy you. And after we left the summer league there in Las Vegas, we ended up going to the Grand Canyon, and that was even worse. I mean, the weather-wise, I'll never do that again. And if anybody been out on that skywalk, believe me, it's a little bit scary. If you know what the skywalk is at the Grand Canyon.
Oh, yes. We promise you cooling and misting stations at the Botanical Garden.
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. Well,
A
Thank
vote
you.
against climate change.
Thank
so-
you.
Yes, thank you for coming and speaking with us tonight. I very much appreciate it. I'm certain we've all made a lot of notes here, and we will definitely be back in touch. Watch the Mangan Park YouTube channel and Facebook page for our links to this, so that you can distribute and share this recording with other friends in other neighborhoods as you gather support.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you for
And
spreading the word and your support.
we're doing our darndest.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening. You're welcome
Bye-bye.
to stay and listen to the air quality monitoring if you want.
Okay, but I'm going to head to security. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to fly.
Get out of here.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
And well, let's see here. United Latinos, you are, half an hour after when I promised you some time. Kevin Dobson's also come on to talk about what he's got going on with his trade school. United Latinos or Kevin Dobson, who wants to go first?
Rock, paper, scissors, throw. No, just kidding.
You guys are welcome to go.
All
make it
right,
brief.
excellent.
We'll make it really brief, Kevin, I promise you. Alex Sanchez, Jessica Barber, can you turn on your cameras? Jessica, you got your camera on. Alex, can you turn on your camera, please, for me? Real quickly, my name is Richard Falcone. I'm with United Latinos. United Latinos is a civic engagement, education, and environmental justice organization. We have been working with your Mangan Park Neighborhood Association to do air quality monitoring. We have installed an air quality monitor above your pool house, on the roof of your pool house there. We have some initial reports that we are putting together in there and continuing our air monitor progress up in your neighborhood. I want to take some time to introduce you to Alex Sanchez and Jessica Barber. These are two interns from Sac State in the Environmental Sciences Department there that are helping us with the effort in doing so and doing the research and the data analysis and the reporting that we are putting together. In case many of you do not know, AB 617 is an assembly bill that is out providing community-based air quality types of projects out there. I only mention them because at the next AB 617 committee meeting, United Latinos will be presenting our initial data when it comes to the work we've been doing, not just in your neighborhood, but also along the Franklin corridor. Jennifer, I don't know if I'm able to share a screen real quickly.
Let me get you hosting ability, but don't leave without giving it back to me.
You got it.
I think Bruce, I need hosting back, or pass it to Richard.
Or actually, all you have to do is if
I'm
you
going to do it
click
right
on the
now.
if you click
Yes,
on the
yes,
arrow
thank you.
screen, you can actually select multiple participants
Let's see.
without having to change host.
Well, I'm going to give it back to Jennifer, just because
Okay,
I should make
very
it.
good.
And Richard, I don't have that ability. I'm working off of a tablet, and the tablet doesn't have all that hosting
All
stuff.
right, sounds good. Sounds good.
You're
So
the
what I
host.
wanted to do is just kind of show you guys a picture of the monitor. just to give you a sense. So when you look up above the pool house, you'll at least know what you're looking at. Jennifer, let me know when you are ready there.
All right, you're now the host.
All right, let's see here. Let's see if I can pull up that quick picture. So this is a picture right now of United Latinos working with some of your neighbors as we had placed the monitor up on Mangan Park. It is an ARA brand, near federally regulated monitor. So again, I just kind of wanted to show that to give you an idea. It is, you can see how tall it is there. It stands about 6 feet tall and runs from solar power, battery powered, collects air samples, collects meteorological data, and so on. So I just kind of wanted to give you a brief showing of that. And so that I can give time over to Kevin on his piece, I'm going to kind of end it there. And again, if you ever see Alex and Jessica at the top of your pool house, they're there checking on the monitor. Don't call the police on them. Yes, they will have a ladder going up to the pool house. Don't call the police on them. But anyway, with that said, I'll turn it over. I see some questions. Erica, you have your hand up.
Is it question time?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, have you guys reported out any data from the one that you guys deployed in Mangan Park? And then where are the other three? Or I know where the other one of them is. What's happening with the one on top of St. Rose?
Sure.
And then where are the other two? Because at least from my understanding, best practices says that you need all of those monitors. They all have to be up to create a radius to capture effective data. Otherwise, you don't have anything to compare it to.
And it's good that you say that, because what we did with the first initial monitoring is that we installed when we first started our monitoring, we did it at St. Rose, and St. Rose specifically in there. Once we added Mangan Park, we started doing the monitoring in conjunction with St. Rose, because of the fact that you have most of the time a southwest wind trajectory. So if you were to follow the air quality, the air wind from Mangan Park, it's going to pass over St. Rose most of the time. Now that's going to change from time to time, depending on the wind trajectory, but that was the reason why we had did that. So we were collecting PM30 TSP at Mangan Park and St. Rose simultaneously, following the 6-day cycle that is recommended by the EPA. So we did collect our first initial 18 days worth of data and sent that over to the lab in order for individual analysis. Because one of the things with these monitors that makes them so wonderful is not that they are just collecting meteorological data and telling us things like PM 2.5 and air quality index and those kind of things like that, but it is also capturing actual air samples. And that's the thing that we really were excited about with these monitors, is to actually find out what is actually in the air. So that's a long answer to your question, but the initial data carries us between Mangan Park and St. Rose. And the other two monitors right now, we are looking to place in other locations, again, depending on where we are seeing the most intentional way to place it to carry forth the information that we are looking for. There is talk that because of the fact that this particular monitor can only sample one type of, whether it's PM30, whether it's PM10, or whether it's PM 2.5 at any one time. We started with the PM30 TSP. We're collecting on the second round, PM30 TSP, trying to find, again, some of those heavy metals that are in there. And we are starting that monitoring again on another 6-day, 3-cycle, and we're going to do it again at St. Rose and Mangan Park. So I don't know if that's a good answer to your question that you're looking for, or if that gives you the information you are looking for.
Well, kind of yes and no, because the air monitor at St. Rose isn't even whole right now. It's missing a bunch of pieces and parts, so there's no way for it to actually do anything or collect samples. And then
you are absolutely right. Let me address that real quick. At the end of the air quality cycle that we just completed about a month ago, before sending it off to the lab. We disassembled the one in St. Rose because we were experiencing some problems with connections and things. So we have the new parts to that. We're going to be putting that back up again. And the next air monitoring cycle, Alex or Jessica, correct me, I think we are starting September 2. Is that correct on the next cycle?
That's correct. Yeah, September 2nd.
Yeah, so we're going to be putting that St. Rose one back together again, Erica.
Okay, awesome. And then how are you guys sharing, I mean, all these different cycles that you're doing? How is the information being shared?
The information itself is going to be shared. We have a lot of raw data that has been collected. We are, and Alex and Jessica have been working along with Earl Whitcomb. Earl has spent a considerable amount of time as an air quality scientist and working for the California Air Resources Board himself. Really knowledgeable guy. So Earl is the one actually doing a lot of the education for us along the way when we do that. Once we have what we've been working on with the report, specifically, Erica, is not just the raw data, but actually being able to put it in a way that can be digestible to the community. We're going to be sharing it with the Air Quality Management District, sharing it with CARB, and sharing it, of course, with the communities as well. Now, this is not a one and done. This has only been a short period of time. And one of the things we're going to be mentioning as part of this report is that we still got a whole nother year of doing this. United Latinos, I got to say, I'm going to tell you, I'm very proud of the fact that we are the only non-governmental agency out there here in our region doing our own air sampling. So we're learning a lot as we go along with that. And that's why I'm glad we got a lot of scientists that we do working alongside us, Erica.
Awesome. And then my last question is, the DOJ grant was about, was it $2 million for research on vehicle emissions?
That's correct.
What are you guys doing with that?
That particular project is in its infancy stages. What Erica is talking about, for those of you that are here, United Latinos, Breathe Sacramento, Valley Vision, and Health Education Council have been subcontracted through the County of Sacramento to do a study, a 2-year study of vehicle emissions in 4 areas that have been designated as EJ zones. We have now selected the 4 areas that we are going to be looking at. We have purchased different types of monitors because I'm sure, as you know, Erica, not one size monitor fits all. So we had to, as a group of organizations, come together and, again, with the help of our scientists, decide on what is the monitor we want to select, what is the type of sampling we want to collect. We settled on black carbon and NOx for what we're going to be studying with those emissions. We have chosen and are working through the purchase of 4 different monitors that have never been used in Sacramento before. I want to say, Alex and Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, and you may or may not know this. I want to say it's SG Tech is the brand that we have selected for that. And we've also bringing in and purchasing a device that UC Davis has put together with their environmental sciences department called a TARDA device. The beauty of the TARDA device is that our TARDA device is a mobile device that can real time capture heavy metals. And so we're real excited about that as we carry that through the 4 areas. We, as I say, are in the infancy stages of that project. We expect to be taking off with that in about 3 months, collecting about a year's worth of data and then reporting back, as well as providing education for the communities. But that is different than what we are doing right now with the monitors at Mangan Park, St. Rose, and beyond.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Other
Jesse, what-
questions about the air quality monitoring by the Green Team, especially in Mangan Park?
Jesse
Yeah,
has his hand up.
Yeah. How you doing there, Mr. Richard Falcone?
I'm doing well, sir.
Okay, so are you doing this just under United Latino umbrella? Or if I want to air monitor in my area, what do I have to do?
Well, first of all, what we're doing right now, this is strictly as United Latinos. United Latinos, as they say, we are proud to say we are the first community-based
Mhm.
BIPOC organization going ahead and doing this. But first, let me ask you, what area do you live in, sir?
We're on adjacent to the Sam and Bonnie Pinnell Community Center.
Oh, sure, sure.
And the reason why I asked is we talking about the refueling station here for
Oh, yeah.
For regional sanitation when they bring in their other gas system and all kind of other things. That's why I asked.
Sure.
In the Meadowview area.
And I can tell you that United Latinos has taken a look at the possibility of installing there at Meadowview, but very, very much like Erica was pointing out, installing a single air monitor in a single place without a real strategic planning process of upwind, downwind, and taking a look at a lot of the, the information that is needed to really collect real effective information is difficult and challenging. I'm just going to put that out there right now on that. That's why one of the reasons why we're moving so slow in regards to that. However, to that point, one of the things that United Latinos is doing a lot with a lot of other EJ organizations is to, because I'm just going to be upfront and honest with you, Jesse. Meadowview's been overlooked. Franklin Corridor has been overlooked. Mangan Park's been overlooked. Don't know why. They've just been overlooked. So as United Latinos progresses through with a lot of the partnerships we are forming, I am at least happy to say that you got some great champions with people like Jeff Solomon and others that are out there really pushing to get some expansion into Meadowview. Will it happen? I feel real confident it will. When will it happen? Anywhere from 3 months to a year out.
Yes, we had the same problem back in the years when they first came up with cap and trade. We was red line out, didn't qualify.
Yeah, it boggles my mind. I mean, the reason why we started at the Franklin Corridor was because if you take a look at the maps and the initiatives that are going out there, there is that spot of the Franklin Corridor between Fruit Ridge and 47th that's overlooked. Yeah, actually from 12th down to 47th is overlooked. So yeah, it boggles our mind, and that's why we're kind of taking it upon ourselves to be able to expand out there and do the work necessary and encourage expansion, not just of what we are doing, but with things like the AB 617. I sit on the Visionary Planning Committee as a community person for the AB 617. We're saying you got to stretch out to Meadowview. You got to. As we work on the Regional Climate Collaborative right now, we're talking about you got to expand out to Meadowview. So there's a lot of discussion that's going on expanding out to Meadowview. It's just going to take some time.
Okay, thank you.
But keep up the fight, Jesse.
Oh boy, what a fight.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I see Matt has his hand up.
Hey,
Matt, are you there?
hey, Jen. Yeah. Hey, so on the, I probably won't repeat it correctly, but I understood there's an upwind, downwind, in conjunction with the other two monitors. So Meadowview's ahead of Chorley Park, Meadowview, Chorley, Mangan, St. Rose. Would that be a downwind cycle for the other two monitors? And then how did the results of your testing come out? We're anxious to know.
I don't want to jump the gun on it, but I'm going to tell you that so far we have found no smoking gun. And I'm using that phrase, purposely on there, because really, and I think all of you would agree with this, regardless of what we find or don't find in this, we are still suffering with asthma. We are still suffering with cardiovascular disease. We are still suffering with a lot of health problems as a result of pollutants, whether air, water, environmental or otherwise in there. So that's why the work has got to continue. Also, I got to tell you, until I learned this, and I don't know how Alex and Jessica feel about this, they're just sitting there quiet with me, but they're the smart ones. I'm just the organizer. But it was surprising to me when I found if you want to look for specific types of data and specific types, especially sampling, because there's a lot of air monitors out there that collect PM 2.5, but it doesn't tell you what's actually in the air. So it takes specific types of monitors to pull specific types of samples. And so even though we may not find no smoking gun with this particular set of data that we're pulling, does not mean that we need to stop. We need to take a look and see what are some other areas of focus and maybe air monitor type differences to put into your area to be able to do a really good deep dive into what's out there.
So bringing it on kind of back on into where we're going and what's happening next. We've got a cycle starting on September 2nd. Now then, September 2nd is the first day we're going to have an extreme heat event. And so I'm wondering how the monitor is going to do through an extreme heat event. Do we want to postpone the September 2nd filter change? Because we're going to have 6 days close to 110 degrees, starting on September 2nd. Just want to pitch that out there, just kind of say, as far as things that are coming up, I got a little worried for the monitor when I saw the heat numbers we're going to be experiencing, and if that might affect its ability to function in extreme heat, because we've been having problems on hot days with the monitor functioning properly. But then also, what is next in the monitoring? What should we be looking for or thinking about in the coming weeks regarding the monitoring?
I think the first question I want to answer is around the fact that we intend to move forward on there. We think because this is pretty robust gear. It really is. And we've had the one up on St. Rose for a long period of time. We've gone through the maintenance cycles with it. So I feel pretty good about that. And I think it still can hold value to continue to move forward.
Okay.
I also looked to somebody like the expertise of Earl Whitcomb, on those kind of things and those decisions in there, Kevin Fernandez. And so I think we're still really good to go there.
Okay.
What does the next cycle hold? Right now, again, we're going to do another 3 cycles, 6 days, 18 days of monitoring starting September 2nd. Again, once again, looking for TSP 30, PM 30 information on that. And so that's where we are on the immediate side.
Okay.
Yeah.
And knowing that our area does have so many problems with respiratory disease and illnesses, is lead all that you're going to be monitoring for in the coming weeks, or are you going to be monitoring for any other type of particulate?
From the heavy metal side of the house, that's why we're doing the TSP 30 specifically. But we're also going to be collecting and taking a look and see what are the samples are, because after the TSP 30 cycle, we're going into PM 2.5.
Okay.
And some of the particulate matter that can come along with that, such as some of the diesel particulate and such too. So that's why I say, and it kind of, Erica, that's why it goes to, I want to take time to answer what Erica points out there, is because right now the data is just TSP PM 30 at this time. We still have PM 2.5 to collect. We still have other samples to collect. That's why I say we don't have really any smoking gun right now, but this is stuff that's going to take a lot of time in order to hash out. So though it may have sounded like I was veering off there, it's because I recognize the fact that there's problems. And we can't do a one and done. We got to keep going at it.
And you were kind of very careful in how you were talking about the results that we're getting. When will a final report come out of what we're finding exactly? What can we expect? When can we expect a final report that's very clear about what was found?
If you're talking about just of the initial 3 cycles, because again, that's all we've collected so far from that. That's going to be what Alex, Jessica, I think we're just about there. I was talking to Kevin today. We're thinking we should be able to release that within the next week or two. Does that fit about right with what you guys think we've got, Alex and Jessica?
I think so, because usually when we get the results from the monitors and send them out to Chester Lab, it takes about 3 weeks to even a month to even get those analyzed. So we
Correct.
also just got those back, and then me, Jessica, and Earl are still kind of going through the whole raw data to see exactly what, you know, types of elements and stuff like that we have in the data. So I think that's a good estimation, is about a week. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, and I will get sent a file of the raw data when it's
Yes, you
available.
will.
in
Was
about
talking to
next week.
Kevin. Well, yeah, even before that, just Jennifer, I was talking to Kevin today. We're going to probably give you access to our Google Share where we have all of the raw data stored.
Excellent. I look forward to that as well. And just so everybody here knows, in my conversations with Richard and the rest of the United Latinos Green Team, I have been making multiple requests to make certain that we test not only for lead, but for other things, because we can't be certain. I am hoping that we can find some sort of indication of what is the greatest culprit. I mean, we're fairly certain we've got lead in the air, and you never want lead in the air. You never do. It's not a good thing. But is lead truly our greatest contributor to our respiratory illnesses and diseases? Or do we have a PM 2.5 problem that's greater than the lead problem? It really matters as far as what our next steps are. Because if we don't look for multiple causes, and there's also a compound effect we have to consider too. But if we don't look for multiple causes and we just say, oh, it's airplanes, it's got to be lead, let's do stuff about the lead, and then we have to wait 20 years to find out if our breathing gets better or not. That's not necessarily an effective use of this next 20 years. We need to be very methodical and very broad-based, in my humble opinion, to make certain that we are going after the greatest causes and we have evidence of what those greatest causes are. Because there's also a possibility of wind direction carrying pollution from other parts of town that are, coming to us. We not only have the airplanes, but we're also on a wind path that might be contributing. So we're not creating it, somebody else is creating it. If we figure that out, we need to address that as well. So I know that we've only got like 3 more cycles left. I'm not certain we're going to be able to do all that I want to do right now with United Latinos, but as far as my work for Mangan Park, I'm not going to stop until we look at as many things as possible. I will keep going out and looking until I can find a way to get us fully tested in air. And when I'm done with air, I'm going for water, because we also have toxic levels of lead in our soil that were tested a few years ago too. So I know that there people have a lot of questions and concerns, and that tonight hasn't answered all of them. It is still a work in progress, but we've got data coming soon. And you also know that Jen, the terrier, is, going to run this down and do my best to take care of the people in my neighborhood. And I know that many of you who are still here are exactly like me. You're going to run it down until we figure it out and we get the alterations and improvements that we need to live healthy, productive lives. So any other questions for the United Latinos Green Team?
Yes, I had a question, Alex. Richard, did you say, or I guess Jennifer asked you about the temperatures this coming week and whether you should monitor for the those locations where the meters are set up? Was that a yes?
I'm sorry, I was answering a question for Eric. Could you ask me that question again?
Yeah, right. I'm just checking to see whether I heard right, whether there was going to actually be monitoring in this heat coming up this week.
That is our intention right now. I'll tell you what I will do. Again, I'm not a scientist, but what I will do is I will express your concerns to Earl and Kevin, and I can let you know as soon as tomorrow. But as far as I know, we went into this with the idea that we would be starting on September 2nd.
Okay, that's good. And I just want to give a little background too. I was a teacher in Lincoln. It was a special ed class, but we were still teaching the Clean Air Challenge. I don't know if you remember that little cycle that went through with the American Lung Association, but we were doing the same kind of testing where we put these monitors up, the little patches, and in different locations around the campus, just to measure the types of particulate matter that existed close to the road, and then more interior to the campus itself. And we noticed the differences between the amount of particulate matter that we were able to collect closer to the street where the pollutants were always rustled up versus just walking patterns inside the school campus. So that was exciting for us, and that 2.5 is the type of matter that gets into your lungs, right, and then creates the real problems with breathing and creates emphysema, asthma, and the like. So I'm happy that you're on the right track. Where are the expansion ideas for the whole county, let's say?
That, I mean, as far as United Latinos is concerned, we are limited, of course, in funding to be able to expand beyond what we are doing right now. That's why we are starting to develop partnerships along the way. I can tell you that there are some citywide initiatives that are going forward to try to expand beyond that. Again, with AB 617, some thoughts about expanding, but regarded to United Latinos right now, we're staying with the 4 that we currently have, getting the last 2 strategically placed, and continuing to carry on with what we are doing independently, at least following within where we're looking. Woodbine as a possibility, again, because of the transportation center that is there, the city transportation that is centered there. And again, keeping within the Franklin corridor, keeping within the Mangan Park area, and again, trying to figure out strategically where's the best place to place that 4th monitor as we go along. So it's going to be an ongoing project. And Jennifer, to part of what you said that I wanted to address, this next cycle of TSP 30 is going to still be followed by the, again, 3 cycles of PM 2.5 and PM 2.5 sampling as well. So it's not stopping with just this next group of cycles, Jennifer.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay. Let's do that. Let's keep going until we get this done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for anybody, and Erica, I don't know if you saw my response there, would really be happy to share the raw data that we have if you think it would be helpful. St. Rose is supposed to be put back together before we get started on September 2nd, Erica.
And I also will kind of share with people another conversation you and I had around air quality monitoring. And it was a reference I made when I was talking about the fact that, we're probably going to find some lead. There's, and you never want to find lead, but, there's also a question about where the standards are set. Are the standards set to maintain health or to avoid raising major governmental alarms? So like a case in point, that's maybe a little easy, clearer to understand. I had a chronic illness for a time that limited my ability to work full time. And so I ran all kinds of medical tests, and every test came back saying I was fine, nothing wrong. But something was clearly wrong because I'm a high energy bunny and I could not get up and go. So what's wrong? And I eventually turned to some alternative and integrative medicine, and found myself in conversations with people who said stuff like, oh, they set those normal standards so wide so that it only triggers an alarm if you're going to die from it. Our testing standards are no longer set to determine health. They're set to determine a legal standard by which the medical care must respond or the patient will die. And my problem was I was sick, but I wasn't dying. And so all my tests, my test results are coming back saying, you're fine because I wasn't dying. But there's this whole broad space in normal where people can't function. And so there is in medicine this idea, and it's, you know, sometimes it gets called functional medicine. They create rings within testing where you're healthy, you're slightly unhealthy, you're getting very unhealthy, and oh, now it's going towards mortality. And so there's like 4 different levels, and where do your test scores fall in? I think we've done the same thing with air and water quality monitoring. We don't want to raise alarms and force action unless death is imminent. But there is a place in between where we're healthy or we're not healthy. And even if we come back saying, you know, death is not imminent, we might still be unhealthy. So even once we get these results back, based upon my personal experience dealing with healthcare, I'm not certain that I will stop because the numbers say you're okay. I want the raw data because I'm going to go in and try to figure out where healthy is, not healthy, and death is imminent are, and you know, try to determine those sorts of boundaries, because I'm not certain that I trust the way our standards are set, because if the standards are set within healthy and still allowed for not healthy or death is imminent, then the government would be put into a bad bind and forced to spend a lot of money that I think they want to spend on other things, if that makes any sense.
It does indeed.
So, you know, we'll get the data, and even if the data tells me that everything's okay, you know, I'm going to go after that next level of, wait a minute, is it healthy, not healthy, or, you know, death is imminent? Because they're going to tell us it's okay, meaning death is not imminent. Great, but we've still got these health problems. I mean, we are the canaries in the cavern, and we need to find out which gas is making all the canaries sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, you touched on it, and I don't want to take too much more away from Kevin and his time there, but I think you touched on it there, because yeah, there's an EPA standard for a lot of different things that are out there. But remember who changed a lot of those EPA standards when he was president between 2016 and 2020. And we haven't seen a lot of those EPA standards move since then. So yeah, right now that's, like you said, there may be a baseline for what's healthy regarding, you know, or a standard for lead, but any lead is problematic.
So we are running into extreme overtime. And nevertheless, I don't want anyone to go anyplace just yet. We've got people from all over the South area on this call tonight, and I would love to take a moment for everyone to share the fabulous things your area are working on right now, like create a little South area community calendar between us. So like everybody has a couple of minutes to say, we're doing this on this date, this and that date, etc. But before we go there and do this fast calendar, because I'm letting go of my agenda item I was going to speak on, Kevin Dobson is here to talk to us about the Capitol. I'm CCH. I can't remember all the letters, but it's an charter school, charter trade school that's opening up in the South area, and I'm sure he's got wonderful things to say also.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you for having me on again. This time of night, a little difficult. I don't know if you saw my 4-year-old popping up, so I'll make it quick as well. I guess I can kick off in terms of upcoming events. The first Thursday of every month, we do a Girl Scout event that's open to all young girls in the Sacramento region. So that's girls from grades K to 12. This month, this upcoming Thursday is focused on hands-on learning. It's a STEM-based activity with the McCarthy Building Company's carpenters. And so every one of these events that girls participate in, they end up leaving with an industry swag bag and typically some hands-on activity that they put together. Additionally to that, we are in the process of running a middle school after school program that will happen twice a week. It'll be running right after Labor Day all the way through November. We'll be posting a great deal more information about that on our social media accounts. But middle schoolers that finish the program also will have the opportunity to receive a $300 stipend. We provide free meals, and there's a number of hands-on activities. Lastly, our application is open. So if you know any 8th graders looking for a high school for next year, I think we have a really unique option. We're the only high school in Sacramento where students can go to Sac State, take classes on their campus, while also going through a career exploration and ultimately moving into paid internships. So again, I'll keep it brief, but just wanted to share some of our information. I'll drop our social media link down the bottom and our website. And again, thank you all for having me on there. And there's my 4-year-old.
Well, you got to meet my dog a little while ago because he's like, where's dinner and where's my walk? So I'm certain there's a lot of that going around right now. Thank you for sharing all of that. What's the name of your school again?
Yep, it is Capital College and Career Academy, CCCA.
CCCA. All right, Kevin, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And you're welcome to stay and listen to our calendar of events now that you've shared yours. So let's see here. I've got Eric and Richard, Alex, Matt, and Effie, and Erica. And then I'll go last. So Eric, you want to go first? What's going on with Sierra Curtis? Upcoming events.
Okay, this Thursday, September 1, we have a town hall or Zoom forum, however you want to describe it. It's titled Facing Urbanization Strategies for Community Plans. And basically, and by the way, it's a 2-parter. There's going to be another one in November, part 2. And basically what this is going to be doing is it's going to be addressing city strategies for housing, transportation, and climate action, and how this is going to impact the 2040 community plan. The major presenter of this will be from Civic, which is a nationally known urban planning organization, and they're going to be talking about corridor infill development and the benefits of smart growth strategy in our city. How's that sound? Jennifer, you going to be there?
I might just be there.
Might just be there. Okay.
I might just be presenting on transportation, especially along Broadway and the Freeport Boulevard corridor, which just happens to run past my house.
And everybody, you need to, if you're going to be going to this, you need to register for it in advance. The easiest way to do this is to go to, if you search SCNA, Sierra Curtis Neighborhood Association will pop up. And over on the right where it says neighborhood and then parentheses SCNA, underneath, second item down there is SCNA Sierra 2 events. Click on that. The first item up will be this. Then you click on the registration button. I apologize. It is not too complex, but kind of a pain in the ass all at once. So there we go. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, Richard, did you pass back hosting to me?
I did, so that way you can keep it moving forward.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. I've forgotten a time or two. So Richard, United Latinos, anything upcoming that you want to share with us?
Nothing specific. I know we have a fundraiser that's coming up September 14th. I can send you more information if you want to put that up. It'd be the first in-person fundraiser we've held in a while. And of course, there are many, many climate initiatives that are coming up, that different organizations. I know there's a climate event happening in McClatchy Park coming up here in September. So more to come there, but I'll send you a list of some of the things that are going on. So the fundraiser is probably the most specific things. And again, just keeping forward with the air monitoring, and much to Erica's point too. And Erica would be happy to talk to you more if you're still there too, about the whole DOJ, the DOJ DHS project that we're working on there, because there's still so many moving parts to that right now too. So if you want to talk about that, be happy to.
And I see a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Alex, Joe, anything coming up in your area you want to share with us?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Good, okay. I'm going to be rekindling my corporation from 1986. I created Bridging Urban Structures, and I have been busy working, teaching, and being in the military, and serving on boards. And I'm going to put that back together. So I'm in the process of doing that, and this will be an organization that is a public benefit corporation with the idea to find areas where there is a need, and then to build the board and create opportunities to touch on things like police sensitivity training. We had that presentation from SMUD tonight, and that kind of excites me. And then another area would be affordable housing in Sacramento County. So that's what's on my agenda, and I'm working currently on getting my 501c3 reestablished. Thank you.
Power to you. You're in good company. Those are things we are passionate about.
Yes.
Effie, anything happening around Hampton Station or your fabulous organic farm? Are you there, Effie? I'll come back to her. Erica, how about you? What's going on? I know you are up to good things. What's coming up on your calendar?
Well, let's see. I'll just share that the volunteer work that I'm doing with the tenants union, there are so many people right now who cannot keep up with the rents and are still struggling to keep up with them. And there's really no actual rental assistance right now because they stopped funding at the federal level. But I am seeing there are a couple programs that I heard about word of mouth that aren't really out there publicly because there's like not a ton of funding for them. So they just don't post it publicly. So if anyone comes across someone or knows someone that is in need of help with rent, please feel free to reach out to me, or Jen can connect us. I'll just share that on September 22nd, City of Sacramento is hosting the Stockton Boulevard Anti-Displacement Community Conversation. I personally am looking forward to this because part of our community benefits partnership agreement included funding for anti-displacement in the neighborhoods that are impacted by the Aggie Square development. And we don't know what's going on with that or where that money is, but folks needed that like a year ago. And so I'm excited that they're having this and would encourage everyone to attend. Also, I would also encourage everyone to look at the Stockton Boulevard plan itself. One of the things that I learned when I looked at it last night was that you can actually comment on the different pages and it's public. So if Jen commented on it, I could see her comment. But it's really cool. And I would just encourage you guys to look at that because some people are mentioning there's discrepancies in numbers or just some of the information there. So I think they would appreciate all the input. And then I just know that from information shared from Adrian Wren and from OPNA that they are talking about the air quality in Oak Park, the monitors, on September 1st, which is this Thursday at 6.
Oh, excellent. I'm going to miss that because I'm going to be talking about changing urban policy in the area. Is that meeting going to be recorded at all?
It usually is, but if you want, I can ask him, reach out to him and ask him. And I'm going to be attending it too. So
excellent. Eric has a question about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to toss out there that if it wasn't for the town hall that Jennifer's going to be out with us, we'd be at that meeting because we're really interested in as well. Because as we say, we share the same freeway with Oak Park and the same flyover going to Executive Airport. So it's something we're very interested in and would really like to participate more in, and certainly communicate any information that comes down the pike on that to our neighbors. So anyway,
Yeah,
I'm really grateful you guys are talking about
Thanks
So
for sharing that.
give our regards to the OPNA and say they would have had, if we had coordinated our calendars better, they would have had a heck of a lot more neighborhoods in the area showing up to their meeting, because we all
Yeah.
want to talk about it with them. And anything else, Erica?
Oh, nothing else for me.
All right. Matt, I know you've got at least one great thing coming up. What's going on from Trolley Park?
Just a couple things. October 29th from 5 p.m., 7 p.m. will be our second annual trunk or treat. Still waiting to hear back from the city about the permit and stuff like that. But I think regardless, if we can have it in the park, if not, we're still going to do it right down there anyways, because it was a big hit last year. We encourage any other neighborhood associations, if you want to sponsor a car, we'll supply the candy, bring out a decorated trunk, and come help out the kids. Another thing I would like to, since we have a lot of different associations online, I'd like to maybe get a collaboration going, maybe not next meeting, but maybe the meeting afterward. And having some issues with people being able to use their own park spaces. And I know Jen knows about this. What's happening is there's a deal where the youth leagues are able to rent park time to practice and things like that for, I think it's a nominal fee, $4 an hour, $8 an hour, something like that. But then when they're actually going to rent them, they're being told it's $80 to $100. And they're finding out that these spaces have been rented out for 2 to 5 years and nobody is allowed to use the space. And I'd like to kind of find out why and do a little digging on that. And I'm not sure if other communities are experiencing any of these issues as well. But I know we are, and Jen is as well in Mangan Park. So who's renting them? Nobody will tell us. And why are the prices so high to keep people off of the parks? That's it.
So we will, that'll be another conversation on another day soon. I am trying to wrap this up rather than open up another conversation, but yeah, there is a conversation opening up in the neighborhoods around parks and permitting, because we are having a bumper crop of athletic teams all wanting to practice this year and getting messages that there's no room anywhere. But then we look at our parks and the fields are empty. But we hear that people are desperate, but they're being told that the fields are permitted and they're not allowed to practice there, but they're empty. But there's this bumper crop of young athletes who are, desperate for a place to practice. So we'll work on that again soon. And I want to come back to the trunk or treat. Yeah, Mangan Park is showing up. I hope some other neighborhoods will show up too. Land Park was just telling me this weekend that they have their theme picked already and that they're ready to go. And I talked to them a little bit. I'm going to have my theme going as well. So we already know Land Park and Mangan Park are going to have cars and represent. And I hope some other neighborhoods will come out and support as well. And as far as my calendar, it's getting extensive super fast through the fall. So first up, I was going to say the September 1st town hall with Sierra Curtis, 6:30 p.m. About basically urban growth and current city documents and policies outlining where the city wants to go in the next 10 years. with areas that are very close to, well, they're basically between Fruit Ridge and Highway 50, which is where Land Park, Southland Park, Curtis Park, Hollywood Park, and Mangan Park are. But it applies also out to other parts of the city. What's going on in our area, it's not limited to our area. We just don't have, that presentation would just be so mongo, it would take hours and nobody would be listening by the time we were done anyway. So that's September 1st. And then on September 4th, Mangan Pool is going to be open free of charge to the public from 1 to 5 p.m. And that is a day that is scheduled to be 111 degrees. We were going to hold a big athletic exhibition, and I managed to work through permitting to get the West Field open so our soccer players and our archers could be, bringing, showing off their stuff and advertising their clubs and bringing people on in. But 111 degrees, I think that part's been nicked. Nobody gets to have heat stroke at my event. Sorry, you're not allowed. So we will still be giving out free ice cream, popsicles, chips, water, that kind of stuff. And the pool is still open for free to come and cool off, bring the family. It should still be a good old time. So that's September 4th. And then let me see here. I've got a September 22nd event also, but let me see if there's anything else between now and September 22nd. I'm sorry, wrong month. Okay, nope, nothing between now and September 22nd, but September 22nd on the west steps of the Capitol between 11 to 2 is a freedom of speech protest on the west steps of the Capitol. There are books being banned in the United States that we considered standard high school reading material back when we were kids. And this group is concerned and wants to raise awareness. It's not happening so much in California, but it is happening in other parts of the country. For example, Native Son is being banned in some places. I had to read that in high school. The Lovely Bones is being banned. Lord of the Flies, which I had to read in high school, is being banned in some parts. So that is the 22nd of September from 11 to 2. September 26th is the Mangan Park September Neighborhood Association meeting by Zoom from 6 to hopefully 7:30. And it is going to be a public safety themed meeting with Chief Kathy Lester and with Mick Boyd of the Sacramento Police Officers Association. So it's going to be strictly on the subject of public safety. So start keeping your records and taking notes now and come back on September 26th at 6 o'clock and be ready to talk to Chief Lester and Mick Boyd. And then on that September, and then October 29th is the trunk or treat with Charlie Park that Matt talked about. And then November 11th is the Veterans Day Parade downtown. Hope y'all can come on out and support our vets. And there is a toy drive on with the lowriders on November 12th, somewhere nearby that I'll get more details on. But those are some things going on in civic activity. Oh, I forgot to mention the September 4th Mangan Pool opening. I'm still hoping we'll get a couple of classic cars to come out from the Good Intentions Car Club. It might be too hot. They might want to say we're not standing in any parking lot that day. I'll understand and tell them to bring their swim trunks. But here's to hoping. We were going to have a great party until I read the weather forecast and went, aw, it's going to be 111 degrees on my outdoor party day that I've been working on for 6 weeks. Really? Really? After all that I've been through to get this going, now you have to bust out 111 when we're in September. Anyway, so that's what's in my brain and where I'm going next. And anything else for the good of the order?
Thank you. Great meeting.
Thank you. It has been a great meeting. I really appreciate all of the speakers, and I appreciate the 6 of you who are still here 2 hours and 45 minutes later. You're amazing. So,
I'm down to a minute and I'll say good night now.
Thank you, Jen.
you're more than welcome. No afterglow tonight. We're just signing off.
Take
Good
care,
night,
Jennifer.
all.
Thank you.
See
Good
you
night,
again.
everyone.
Thanks for coming.
A lot of great information.